So let's look at social mobility, what it is, what are the different types of social mobility, the main factors that influence social mobility, and we also compare the trends of social mobility across different countries or globally, uh, what is happening in terms of social mobility. Okay, so social mobility is when you have individuals, families, or groups within a society uh, moving along the social hierarchy. So it can be movement upwards, it can be movement downwards. Okay, we earlier all looked at the concept of social stratification, where we said that it is about the ranking of individuals, families, or also social groups on the social hierarchy. Okay, what their standing is in terms of social settings, social status, social positioning, social standing. Basically, those are basically similar terms. So movement to upwards in terms of the social status or social standing is what we refer to as social mobility. Okay, so moving from one social position to another is what we are referring to. So there are many things that should really happen can allow someone to move from one social standing to another. Okay, changes in occupation, education, wealth attainment, power, prestige, income, and other sources of wealth. Okay, they can make you move, climb what we call the social ladder. Okay, moving from either lower classes to the upper classes or from the upper classes to the lower classes. There are many things that can happen along the way. Okay, so why do we really need to understand about this social mobility? What does it tell us? It tells us of the inequalities that happen in our societies. We are able to know uh, who are the people who are not having access to resources, opportunities, and social benefits. Okay, and then how do we make sure that we can enhance the chances that they can actually uplift themselves? Okay, and then also, if you don't have a rigid system, what we call the closed system, where someone will forever, generation after generation, remain in the same social class. If you have such a system, it does not allow people to think and grow. Okay, so there is limited room for innovation and economic growth. But generally, if people can be given the opportunities to work and thrive, they can change their lives and attain higher quality of life. Okay, so that's why we want to have a system that allows people to work based on merit and acquire whatever they can acquire, such that they can change their social standing. Okay, so we can have terms as intergenerational mobility, where you have one generation um, being followed by the next one of a different class. Okay, so if your parents are in the lower class, and then perhaps you struggle very hard and get a job, and then maybe build a very good house, take your brothers to very good schools, it means that your generation is not like the generation of your parents or your grandparents. Okay, so there is that movement from a lower class to an upper class. And then we have what we call intragenerational mobility, where it doesn't have to be a generation. Okay, the change from one social class to the other is within the same generation. Okay, so that is intergenerational mobility. And then we have what you call absolute mobility, which is based on real indicators that can really be measured. Okay, and we call them objective criteria. Okay, so if we say that at the start of the year you are earning $500, by the end of the year when you start earning $5,000, that is the real movement that can be seen. Okay, that is objective. Okay, so that is what you call absolute mobility. So we can look at even in populations. We can say that the average earnings for South Sudanese and in the working class have increased. Okay, so it means that there is what social mobility. And then there is what we call relative mobility, where we don't base on individuals, but basically a ranking that is based on a given population. That is what we refer to as relative mobility. So we have a classification of mobility, or the types, the open and then the closed system. And we basically relate this to the stratification that we earlier on talked about. And actually, we looked at these concepts. With the open system, it's very easy for you to get opportunities, work, and move to a higher level of social class. Okay, so you have it is relatively easy. Okay, so the opportunities are abundant, and if you really strategically place yourself, you can have a better life. That is an open system. Okay, so the open system means that the 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 the, the boundaries are permeable, that you can move. It's not rigid that you can't move. It's not that forever and ever you be a person in, let us say, you be a low income earner. Okay, if you strategically improve yourself, you go to school, you acquire the necessary skills, you have the appropriate network, you can transition into a high income class. So that is fluidity. Okay, but that also means that you can also easily move from the upper class to the lower class. So that is also possible. Usually, this system are based on meritocracy. This is to say that your promotion, okay, your promotion to another class is based on merit. So, for example, you getting a job of you earning 5,000 from a job of 500, it is not through a connection. It's not through nepotism. It's through you working extremely hard and acquiring the appropriate skills, going through the rigorous interview processes, and then be recruited for that position. That is what we call meritocracy. Okay, regardless of where you come from, either you're a brother to a governor or not, because of your skills, you have been appointed to a given position, you have access to resources and opportunities. And then the opportunities have to be there to ensure that people can really transition. One of the greatest things that can make people move from, let us say, poverty or out of poverty is education. Access to education creates opportunities. Okay, access to education, resources, and avenues for advancement. Okay, so most societies, especially where democracy flourishes, whether there is meritocracy, this is where you will have this kind of mobility. Okay, And then closed system of stratification. This one is where it is very hard for you to move from one class to the other. Okay, there's limited mobility. Okay, for example, if you are in a slave system, I mean, you're in a slavery. In slavery, you have the master and the slave. So it is extremely very hard for you to move from being a slave to being a master. So the system is highly rigid, okay? And then it is also characterized by inheritance or heredity. If you're born in a family of, let us say, the landlord, then you have higher chances of owning land. But if you are born in a family of tenants, then it's going to be extremely very hard for you to transition to be a landlord, especially in a system where we have rigid land tenure systems, and the opportunities are very minimal. Okay, so you don't want to have a society that is having what you call closed system stratification, where the opportunities to move from one strata to the other are very, very limited and actually very hard. Okay? And then there are two terms that you also need to look at: vertical mobility and then horizontal mobility. Vertical mobility is when there is change in one's social status, when either you're moving upwards or you're coming downwards across the different levels of hierarchy. So if you get a job of 5,000 and you have been getting 500, that is a vertical movement. You have moved upwards. But if you have a job of 5,000 and then you lose it and get a job of 1,000, that is also vertical movement, but it is downwards. Okay? And then horizontal movement is when you have changed your position within, there is change in one's position within the same level hierarchy without changing your status. So if you change from being a gardener to being a security guard, that is the horizontal. You have changed your job position, but you have not really moved into another income level, because the gardener and the security guard could be earning the same or actually earning the same. So that is what you call horizontal mobility. So what are the factors that influence mobility? Already from our explanation, you should be able to know the factors, like in my explanations. But I will basically repeat some of them. You can classify these factors into institutional level factors, structural level factors, and then just yes, the individual factors and then the structural level factors. Those are the two classifications that we are going to basically look at. And then maybe something, the third one is social dynamics. So those are the three categories of factors that can really influence your mobility across the social strata. So personal characteristics. The chances for you to really succeed depend actually on you, the individual, you, the person. There are factors that if you work on them, you can actually move forward. So what are the things that can make you move forward? Persistence, self-belief, self-efficacy, education, motivation. Okay, these are individual factors. No one will tell you to wake up in the morning and go to school and make sure you get a degree and be suitable for a given job. If you're not motivated, if the small challenges that you face in school demotivate you and then you drop out. It is about you, the person. So those are the personal characteristics. They are basically about you, the individual. Okay? And then we have also individual level factors that operate around the family level. Okay? There are people who are actually born in well-to-do families. Okay? It is very easy for them to get jobs or to get capital for business, or even to use the family networks, family friends to get jobs and be better. Okay, so that also plays an important. And then we move to the structure ones where I really have minimal influence. You have you as an individual, you will not really have a lot of impact. Okay, issues to do with, for example, the inflation. The inflation in South Sudan, you as an individual, what are you going to do about it? Okay, inflation, you can't. Unemployment, okay, an economy that does not produce jobs, you not really do a lot about it. Or even a huge taxation, okay, you want to start a business, but starting a business is very hard because the taxes are huge. You not do something about that. The education system, which trains you to be a job seeker, not a job creator, you really almost do nothing about that. Okay, so those are structural factors. Even access to education itself becomes very is not a factor that you will influence as of now. Let us say you want to study data science as a course, but as a country we don't have a bachelor's of data science as a program at the university. So what will you do? So you have limiting factors that are beyond you, and they're the ones we are referring to as the structural factors. The market, okay, the market demand, the market dynamics. Okay, you have people who have studied, they are educated in certain fields, but the demands for these fields are minimal. Okay, for example, you study computer science, but the jobs of computer science in your community are not almost there. They are not there. So what will you do about that? Okay, and then social policies. Okay, uh, the taxation that I've talked about, the minimum wage. Okay, if you get employed, how much, at minimum, how much should your boss give you? Has the government determined that amount, the minimum amount? Okay, for example, the civil servants, how much are they earning? Consider it with the inflation. Are they able to survive? Can they really look like civil servants who are well paid? It's very difficult. Okay, so those are social policies. Affordable housing, social welfare, all those fall under that. Okay, discrimination, marginalized communities or disadvantaged communities, people with disabilities, discrimination against certain gender, sexual orientation. These are things that are structural in nature. And then we look at social dynamics. Okay, social networks. The friends that you have can enable you to access resources, opportunities, and even benefits. So what social networks do you have? Social dynamics are very, very key. And then we look at the cultural norms and values. Okay? Our cultures influence our attitude towards work or work ethic. We have jobs here that are actually being done by foreigners. Okay? Yet they're actually jobs that you can think can be preserved for the common man. Okay, they are not highly technical, but the common man does not want to engage in those jobs. So you have a problem. So our cultures, our attitude towards certain work influence our ability to transition. Some of the people that are doing petty jobs that you see around, when they go back to their countries, they're actually big people in terms of resources. Some of them are landlords. They own plots, they own land, they own houses for rentals. Okay, so that is an issue to do with culture. How do we value our work? It's very, very important. And then we move to the systems of social mobility. Okay, here we have three. Socialist system is where resources or wealth are redistributed to make sure that those who don't have are even uplifted. So you don't want, it is the opposite of capitalist system, where as long as I can make a lot of profits, I don't care about the poor person. The socialist system aims at making sure that you reduce the inequalities. Okay, so usually those that have a lot of wealth are taxed more, such that the taxes are made to benefit the poor people. That is a socialist community or socialist system. With a capitalist system, for me, I want to make profits. I don't care if you become more and more poor. That is the capitalist system. And then the welfare system is where governments have policies and programs that are aimed to provide safety nets and promote social mobility. Okay, so countries where you have the elderly being taken care of, it's a welfare society or welfare system. Okay, you have, they can be given food, they can be given allowances, they can be given free housing, whatever it is. Okay, so that it is very easy for them to uplift their lives. That is a welfare state system. Okay, so we already looked at the fact that the factors that can influence mobility can be structural or individual at individual level. But you, as a policy maker, you want to really make sure that you have a policy, or you have policies in place that are favorable, that allow what you call structural mobility. You have an economic environment that is optimal for conducting business. So that means the no corruption, inflation is low, taxations are appropriate, and things like that. They allow structural mobility. So changes in social structures create opportunities for moving to higher classes. Okay, and then the decisions. When we come to the individual mobility, we look at the decisions that are made at the individual level and how they influence your movement upwards. Okay, those are the things that we talked about in terms of your resilience, perseverance, self-efficacy, being a person who looks forward for opportunities and work extremely very hard to make sure that you move. You need these two things, individual mobility and structural mobility, in order to move. Okay, sometimes for you as a person, you are determined, but you have structural limitations. But you can also have a system where you don't have a lot of structural limitations, but the individuals are not really up to the task. So you have a problem there. In most regions, there is increased social mobility. Okay, but of course, in systems where we have, let us say, restrictive government policies, okay, where in situations where you have limited vibrance of the private sector, where you have a certain cliques of people controlling the what we call the resources, the major resources, of controlling power and resources. If you have a small clique of people, they can really restrict the chances that you can move, okay, to from one class to the other. So we have stagnant societies. They are not moving. Okay, they are not moving. Okay, technology has provided opportunities that can enable social mobility. There are a lot of innovations, a lot of opportunities that have been created by this technological advancement. And then therefore, as a government, you really need to think about the policies that restrict people from social mobility, moving, climbing the social ladder. So you want equal opportunities for people. You want to create an environment that is peaceful, that is the economic environment that you don't have a lot of inflation, where you don't have restrictive policies, where you don't have certain businesses restricted to certain people, where you promote innovations. A lot of things have to be done by the government to ensure that we have mobility. Without that, nothing can really happen. So why is social mobility very important in health? Okay, so we all know what we call social determinants of health. People who have poor health are often those that are in the lower socioeconomic class. Okay, so in order to address the problems caused by poor health or caused by being in the lower socio-economic class on health, we need to address these factors. Why are people not getting good jobs? Why is it difficult for people to really develop their innovations, create opportunities and employments, and become vibrant? We need to address those things. If we don't address them, they actually directly influence health. Okay, so we need to understand the things that prevent people from attaining higher levels and be able to address them. If we don't address them, then we are going to have health inequalities where the people in the lower economic class continue to have poor health outcomes compared to those in the higher income class. So it is very vital to think about social mobility and health. So that marks the end of the session.